what I found, I was so surprised by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross telling me about my life from a drawing. So I began to look into it. I always say I became a Jungian surgeon. But I found it so helpful because if patients are in the office, I mean, they could say something like, I don't know what job to take. And I'd say, draw yourself in all the possibilities. And then they'd come in with the drawings and I'd say, hey, this looks good. That's what you ought to do. So it wasn't about thinking, it was about their intuitive wisdom. And the same for treatment. I mean, I've had people come in and say, oh, yeah, I went on a diet to cure my disease, but I hate it. My wife doesn't like preparing it. The kids don't eat with us anymore. I'd rather have an operation. Fine, come on, let's go. Because nurses would say to me, your patients are refusing pain medication. I said, what are you talking about? Well, they have an operation and they don't need any medication. I say, yeah, did it ever occur to you that they're not in pain because they did something they wanted to do? They're a little sore, but they don't need morphine. And the nurses thought I was nuts, to say something like that, but they began to see it was true. So when somebody makes that decision, they have far fewer side effects. And again, somebody draws a picture, and this is literally true, I don't make these up. The operating room is a black box. You're lying on a black table with two legs, and there's not a soul in the operating room or outside. I said, don't have surgery. Why not? Look at this picture. You're not going to do well. Well, I want to have surgery. I said, then go home, visualize it 4 or 5 times a day, going to the operating room, having surgery, doing beautifully, going right home. A week later, she drew me another picture, and it's glorious. I mean, she's surrounded by people drawn in healthy colors like green and blue. Her family's all outside the operating room. There's a window in the operating room, and God's light is shining in. I said, you don't have to worry. Go ahead. So you can prepare yourself for whatever's coming up because your body doesn't know what you're visualizing isn't true. So if you picture yourself, well, not being seasick, it doesn't have to, if you say, gee, I get seasick every time I'm on a boat. All right, then picture yourself being on a boat 4 or 5 times a day and not getting sick. And then a week later, your body gets on the boat and it feels fine because it hasn't had any trouble all week. So the same could be true of chemotherapy. You don't have any side effects. And again, the power of the mind. One woman came in with a big smile to our meeting. I said, what is it? She said, after chemotherapy, I've been vomiting all the way home. And my husband always has a bag in the car and hands it to me and I throw up in the bag. She said, yesterday, he handed me a bag. I opened it. There were a dozen roses for my husband in it. I've never vomited again. Now, you think how powerful that mind is. Once she saw the roses, she never vomited again after her therapy. And those are things people need to realize about themselves. So it helps people know past, present, and future, and how those things have affected you and what are the best choices ahead of you. So whether it's somebody saying, where should I go to college, what treatment should I have, or anything else, draw a picture, and you don't need to be an artist. The colors, the position on the page, all those things will make a difference.
You have a couple of your patients' pictures handy?
Well, this is one by my wife. I hope you can see it. Is there enough light on it?
You got to pick it up higher.
Oh, yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, one of our sons was driving me crazy. Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to look at it again for a minute. I'm trying to get him to leave home. Now, I don't mean move out, but to go off to college. And my wife drew this picture one day. We have 5 children. At the top, one of them is out of line. See, that's him. Now, at the bottom of the page, you see 4 and 3. That's the total number in our family, 7 people. But when she drew this, it was 3 and 2. In other words, 3 had gone off to school, and 2 were home. And what I felt was he was going to leave. because my wife did not draw him at home now. She put him, well, excuse me. I think this is my wife and I and the twins, and I'm pointing my finger in the wrong place, and the three on the other side.
Pick it up a little higher.
Yeah, two boys had left to go to college, but now three of them were over in this side. You see, and the twins were home with my wife and I.
Okay.
7 of us make up the family. And I knew from this picture that he was going to leave home. You know, that he had made plans and off he was going to go. And in between the two things, it may be hard to see, there's 6 cattails. And 6 weeks to the day from the drawing, he left to go join his brother out in Denver. But when I looked at this drawing, I knew he was going. I mean, I didn't know if it's 6 minutes, 6 years, you know, but I knew that that number at the, where was it? In the cottontails in here, that number implied something also. Okay? So it helped me to relax and just let things happen. And then let me show you one other that touched me. It's been hanging in my house since this young lady died. Part of it has faded because it was in a hallway. And let me just look at it. Her name was Amber. She was a 4-year-old. And her mother had taken her everywhere trying to, you know, treat her cancer. But the top is the key to what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
All right. What's at the top was a circle in black draped with purple over it. And purple is a spiritual color. And I knew that what Amber was saying is, I'm ready to go out of the picture. I'm ready to die. Enough already. So I showed it to her mother, who was named Patty. But I said, Patty, Amber is ready to go. You need to let her go. But I said, I don't understand the colorful decorations around it. I can't explain that because all those nice colors, but I know from this balloon going up out of the picture with her name on it, she's ready to go. And what's interesting, the intuitive wisdom, you can't see it because it faded, but at the bottom was another child's face. And I said, who's that? Because it was green and yellow, healthy colors. And Amber said, oh, that's a girl in the next room crying. And that's what fascinates me. See, how does she
Pick it up a little higher, please.
How does she know to switch to those colors? But she knows intuitively. Well, anyway, Patty took her home and called me and said, Bernie, today is my birthday. Amber woke up and said, Mom, I'm dying today to free you from all the trouble. And then I went back and counted all these colorful dots and realized that those were the number of days left in Amber's life. And I felt the other little decoration was like for her mother's birthday, you know, like a candle kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
But you see, those are the things, how helpful it was to her mother to take her home and love her. And then for a 4-year-old to say, Mom, I'm dying today as a gift to you. It took away all the guilt and the blame because, you know, when you get tired of your body, it's time to go. As my dad said, I need to get out of here. My mother said, oh, let's get him out of bed. No, Ma, he wants to get out of his body. So she gave him permission, if you know what I mean. And he said, fine, we'll die Sunday. And we had a wonderful party, and he died laughing because the stories my mother told about their early life and how they met. He lost a coin toss and had to take my mother out. And that was the start. But again, what was mystical? I went out for a walk before I went to the hospital. And I heard a voice say to me, how did your parents meet? I said, I don't know. And the voice said, ask your mother when you get to the hospital. So when I walked in, what blurts out of my mouth, how did you two meet? And she started telling stories. And my father died looking so healthy, I thought he was going to change his mind. But it was such a gift. And I can say, well, everybody, my in-laws, my parents, and my wife a few months ago, no trouble dying. My father-in-law, I mentioned, was quadriplegic. he just said to us, I'm not having dinner and I'm not taking my pills. And he died that night. And my wife died quietly in the night. I didn't even know she had died. I mean, in the bedroom. I went over to give her a kiss, and then I realized it. And but it's that peaceful transition. You know that your family can handle it. Doesn't mean we don't shed some tears, but it's a totally different experience. You know, to die surrounded by loved ones rather than more typically in the hospital at night, so you don't feel guilty doing something to your family and the doctor isn't there to stop you. Used to drive me nuts as an intern when I was training. I'd finally get a few minutes. I'd go up to my room to lie down and get a little sleep and rest. And the phone would ring, and the nurse, can you come back to the floor, please, and declare Mr. So-and-so dead? And I used to think, what the hell? Why does he wait 5 minutes to die? Why couldn't he have died 10 minutes ago and saved me? And then I realized, dumbbell, if you're there, they're afraid you won't let them die. And let me mention one article that a doctor wrote. You have 8-hour shifts in the intensive care unit. And these 3 doctors were keeping this fellow alive to show off. And he said what we were doing was saying, when we changed shifts, not on my shift. And he wrote an article for a medical journal entitled Not on My Shift, because he thought, what are we doing to this man? You know, he's in an intensive care unit. We're keeping him from being dead. He's not enjoying life. So he stopped all the craziness and let the man die and wrote an article. And again, when we give people that permission and they know they're loved, you may remember many years ago the Shibo case in Florida where the husband wanted to stop feeding his brain dead wife and they wouldn't let him because it's murder. Well, a doctor called me and said, my mother is brain dead. We want to let her die. Hospice won't accept her. They say we're murdering her if we pull out her feeding tube. I said, I'll pull it out. You show up without it. So they did. But the lawyer said, oh, no, I know what's going on. You're not, going to come in here. So we admitted the mother to the hospital, and I went over there. I said to the family who was standing around the bed, tell your mother, we love you. Your love will stay with us. If you need to go, it's okay. And they all started crying and saying, oh, we can't. I said, all right, I'm going to tell your mother. Just stand here. This woman, as I said, is brain dead in a coma. I said, your family is standing around the bed. They want you to know they love you. Your love will stay with them. If you need to go, it's all right. 15 minutes later, she died. And that's with all the treatment still running, if you know what I mean. As I said, talking to people under anesthesia and all kinds of things, that they hear you, whether they're in coma or anesthetized or anything else. Well, it's like when you're sleeping, if the alarm goes off, you get up. If somebody makes noise, you wake up. And it's the same. These people hear. It gets through to them. Yeah.
Excellent.